Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing, man? Antonelli here.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How we doing? Matt Antonelli here. Today, answering your questions. Today's question is about the daily schedule at the MLB level. So we're going to talk about what players do before games, what time they get to the park at, what do you do kind of leading up to game time. I get this question a lot from people in the comments, and so I want to break it all down today. Today we're wearing my Wake Forest hat. I usually wear my Antonelli baseball hat, but it's out in the car, and I didn't really feel like going out and getting it, so we're going to throw this hat on instead today, okay? So let's start off with your typical 7:05 p.m. game, and we're going to talk about being the home team, okay? Because BP differs depending on whether you're home or away. The home team's going to hit first, and the away team is going to hit second, okay? So let's pretend we're home, 7:05 game. Everything kind of revolves around batting practice, team batting practice. And so usually the home team is going to hit somewhere between 2.5 and 2 hours and 45 minutes or so before the game. So that would put us right around like 4:30 or so, 4:15, 4:30, somewhere in there. And so most times as a player, I would get out to the field around like 3:45 or so to be able to stretch out. We're going to play catch and loosen up and then get ready to hit. All right, so keep that in mind. I want to be on the field right around 3:45. So let's back up even further. Every player is different, and so for me personally, I typically, when I was in the major leagues, I would show up to the stadium around like, let's say around like 1:30 or so. And usually I would eat some food when I got to the stadium. Now, it also depends a little bit. Maybe I have family in town, maybe my wife's in town, and maybe we're going to eat together before the game. So we'll have lunch, at a restaurant or something, and then I'll come over to the stadium a little bit later on those days if I don't have to eat. But if I'm just by myself, I'm probably going to roll into the stadium around like 1-ish, 1:30-ish, grab a bite to eat. Then I'm going to get my day started. I'm going to start to get ready to go. And so for me, typically I'm going to get changed, going to get into, usually throw on my sliding shorts, and then my shorts and just a t-shirt, like a dry fit or something, to be able to stretch out. Usually I do a little bit of stretch of my own. Maybe I go in and see the trainer depending on how I'm feeling. He'll stretch me out. Maybe, my arm might be a little sore. Maybe give my arm a little bit of a massage. Every player's, again, a little bit different. Some players like to jump into the hot tub and kind of get their blood kind of pumping and getting going. So you're going to do all that. Then I would go into the batting cage. So I'm going to go into the batting cage. It's an indoor, underground batting cage at the stadium, and I'm going to go through my routine. And so typically I'm going to put the ball on the tee. I'm going to do some tee work. Then I'm probably going to do some flips. Maybe I'll have a coach throw to me. Typically not. Usually I'm just going to hit some flips. And then there's usually a machine in there too, so you can turn the machine on and hit a little bit live if you want as well. So that routine is going to kind of get you ready to go outside and hit with the team. All right, a lot of people just assume, I think a lot of people actually just assume you just show up and play the game, but there's a lot of work that goes in before the game ever starts. All right, so we're going to do that. Also, probably going to find a little bit of time to look at some video. So whoever the starting pitcher is on the other team, typically is going to be, most teams have a room with a bunch of computers. You're going to be able to pull up previous at-bats against that pitcher, and you can look up really anything. You can look up certain counts. You can look at certain pitches. You can, whatever you feel like looking at that day on that pitcher, you can do some research and find that out before the game starts. Okay, once all that is done, you're going to go outside at 3:45. Like I said, you're going to stretch, you're going to throw, so you're going to grab a partner, usually the same guy every day. You're going to throw, warm up your arm. Then you're going to go take batting practice. Batting practice typically lasts around like 45, 50 minutes. Usually you do like 4 or 5 rounds of batting practice, and then you're going to go get some defensive work. So you're going to go field some ground balls, take some live balls off the bat. Like you're going to get out there and just basically pretend you're in the game, and whoever's hitting, you're going to field the ball when he hits it. When that's all done, you're going to come back in, and the other team is going to hit batting practice. All right, so they're going to do their thing for about 50 minutes or so. When I come back in, typically I'm going to grab a little bit of a bite to eat, because at this point it's been a little while since lunch. And so I'm going to have, I usually ask them to make me something. In the major leagues, again, you usually have people that are there to cook some food, and so you can ask them. Back with my diet was pretty bad. I asked for like a hamburger or something, maybe a chicken sandwich if I wanted to go healthy. I'd eat that up. Then I'm usually going to shower. So I always shower before my game. Most players actually do this. A lot of players do. I would never play without showering, okay? So I go in the shower, I get out, I'm usually going to throw on a new pair of sliding shorts and usually like shorts and a shirt. I'm going to go and usually stretch out again. Depending on the day, I might jump back into the hot tub before I get dressed just to get loose all over again. I'm going to go do some stretching. At that point, I'm going to feel pretty loose and good. I'm going to go and throw my uniform on. Now, if it's a 7:05 game, we're probably looking at right around like 6:30-ish, 6:40-ish, somewhere in there. Finally, I'm going to go back onto the field, and I'm going to get a quick stretch again. I'm going to play catch really quickly. We're not going to go super long like we did earlier in the day, but it's usually just like 10, 15 throws, get my arm feeling good again. They're going to do the national anthem. We're going to rock and roll and play. All right? It's about 7 o'clock at this point. I'm going to play a 3-hour game. Game's going to end right around 10 o'clock, although games seem to be going longer and longer and longer every year. So if I was still playing, it's probably a 3.5-hour game. So let's say the game ends at like 10, 10:30-ish. You're going to get off the field. I'm going to come in, and at this point, depending on the day again, I'm going to either work out. So we have a weight room at the stadium. If you're playing on the road, we haven't gotten to that point yet, but there'll be a weight room there too. And so I like to lift after games at the major league level because you have the weight room right there. And I'll probably do that 2 to 3 days a week. So if it's a workout day, I'll go work out. If it's not a workout day, I'll usually do a little bit of a stretch. I might jump into a cold tub just to get my body, just to kind of cool my body down. I always felt like my body felt better the day after when I jumped into the cold tub after a game. Again, do a little stretching, and then I'm going to jump in the shower. Going to shower up, get out, and now at this point, I'm either going to eat food at the stadium or I'm going to go out to eat. All right, so you're looking now, if you worked out, it's getting pretty late. If you didn't work out, it's still getting pretty late. It's past 11 o'clock right now, probably 11:15-ish. And you're going to grab some food at the stadium, or again, you'll go out and eat. There's, when I was in San Diego, you're right downtown, lots of restaurants and stuff that you can go, and they're staying open pretty late. You can grab some food. By this point now, when you're done eating, you're looking at past midnight. You're probably looking at 12 to 12:30. Usually going to go back to your, for me, it was my hotel, or you're going to go back to your house. Again, if you're married with a family, you might just go right home and eat with them. But for me, my family was not out there. Obviously, they're from Massachusetts. My wife she wasn't living with me at the time. She'd come out and stay for a few days, and then she'd go back home. And so if she was out with me, we'd go out to eat. If not, I'm just going to go back to the hotel around like I said, usually right around 12:30, 1 o'clock. Relax, maybe watch some TV. Back in the day, play some video games, although I'm getting back into video games now. And fall asleep probably around 2 o'clock, and then you're going to sleep in. Usually you're always going to, I'm going to sleep in until about 10:30 or so. So everything's kind of pushed back as a major league player just because you're working at night. So you're going to sleep in, and then you'll wake up and get some food in you, usually breakfast around 10:30 or so, and then again head over to the stadium around 1-ish, 1:30. For me, I used to just walk to the stadium because I lived downtown in San Diego. The hotel that I lived at, I ended up just staying in a hotel. It was a nice hotel right across the street. I could just walk to the stadium. A lot of players are going to have their cars, and they're going to drive over there. But for me, again, I just like being right downtown. It was nice and easy. I could walk there. I could walk to like tons of different restaurants and stuff. I really never even needed to drive anywhere, so it was perfect. So that's how the home game is going to work. Away game is going to be basically exactly the same. The only difference is you're going to hit batting practice second. So you can come into the stadium a little bit later on road games, usually about an hour or so later. So instead of getting in at 1:30-ish, you might get in at 2:30-ish. And then the schedule is the exact same thing. The only difference that I saw was every now and then, usually it was the first game of a road trip, they'd have early batting practice on the field. So it'd be like for rookies, it was kind of mandatory for rookies, and then anyone else that wanted to get on the field. So it was before the home team hit batting practice. So you're talking about really early. So I'd get to the field probably around like noon on those days, and I'd go out, we'd hit, then we'd come in and wait, do whatever you want, relax for a while, then you go back out and do your normal routine with your team. So that was the only difference on the road. And on the road, usually you would take, for me, I took a taxi to the game. Nowadays, everybody Ubers, I'm sure. But back then, you could take the team bus, but the team bus typically didn't go to the stadium early enough, so I had to jump in a taxi. Usually a couple of guys, 2-3 guys, would just jump in a taxi together and roll over to the stadium. All right? And so that's how 7:05 games work. Now, the only difference is sometimes you're going to play, you might play a 1 o'clock game on the weekend. Maybe it's a Sunday 1 o'clock game. And that just depends. Sometimes you're going to have batting practice, so you're going to hit earlier, 2.5 to 2 hours and 45 minutes before the game, so you're looking at like a 10:15, 10:30 BP. Now, there are games, depending on how many games you've played in a row, depending on a bunch of different things with how the team's feeling. It might be a day where the manager says, we're not going to hit on the field today, just you're going to hit in the cage, right? And so you won't have to get there super early. Maybe you've been on the road a lot. Maybe the travel schedule is really crazy and he wants guys to get a little bit of a breather. Then again, you're not going to hit on the field. You're just kind of go down into the cage. And everything happens much quicker. When you're on the cage, you can do that really quickly, and you don't have to get to the stadium as early in the morning. And that's pretty much it. So that's basically what a schedule looks like at the major league level. And again, it depends a little bit on the type of player you are. Some players come in earlier. Some players live at the stadium. Like I've played with some guys that get there as fast as they can, and they're playing cards and they're playing all kinds of stuff all day long. There's other players that will get in really late. They don't have to do as much work. Maybe the veteran players really know themselves really well. Their routine is probably a little bit more condensed. And then also as a younger player, you feel like you have to get in there a little bit earlier. It wouldn't be a good idea for a rookie to just roll in, late. That would not be a very good idea. And so I always tried to get to the stadium pretty early during my career. So hopefully that helps everyone out. Let me know if you have any questions or if I missed anything in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, all that good stuff. Share with all your friends, and we'll talk to you later.